I still remember that electrifying moment as if it were splashed in neon across my very soul, the moment my wife, with an air of entitlement, demanded that I sell my beloved car for her use. In those first 100 heartbeats, every hope I had cherished, every dream I'd nurtured of independence and hard-earned success, shattered into a cascade of disbelief and burning defiance. Her words, sharp and dismissive, cut through me like ice, as if she were erasing every mile I'd driven toward my own future. That day, instead of caving to her demand, I vowed to transform the betrayal into my liberation. I would buy a new car and leave her with nothing. For years, my car wasn't just a vehicle. It was a symbol of the freedom I'd fought for, the countless hours spent on long commutes, and the independence that fueled my ambition. I'd saved diligently, sacrificing luxuries and even a few personal dreams, to afford a car that reflected not only my financial discipline but also my self-worth. It represented the journey I'd taken from humble beginnings to a level of success that I was proud of. I believed that every turn of the wheel was a step toward a better life, a life where I was in control. And yet, in a single heart-wrenching moment at home, she dismissed all of that. She claimed that my car was a relic of my past, a burden I needed to shed for her vision of a better life. Her demand was simple yet devastating: sell your car. It's holding you back. I deserve the luxury of having a car that matches my status. I was stunned. I couldn't fathom how the woman I'd loved and supported for so long could reduce something I valued so deeply to a mere accessory in her pursuit of a lavish lifestyle. Her words, uttered with such casual cruelty, reverberated in my mind long after the conversation ended. I found myself questioning every moment we had shared, every road trip, every solo journey that had once filled me with pride and a sense of accomplishment. Had I been so blinded by our shared routine that I failed to see her growing disdain? The betrayal was not in the request itself. After all, sacrifices are a part of every relationship, but in the way it was delivered, as if my years of hard work and the symbol of my freedom were nothing more than obstacles to her own gratification. That night, as I sat alone in the quiet of our living room, the soft hum of the city outside mingled with the heavy silence inside me. I stared at the framed photographs on the mantel, images of happier times when our dreams were intertwined. I recalled the long hours I'd spent at the dealership, the excitement of test-driving cars, and the pride I felt when I finally drove away in my new car, a symbol of the independence and success I'd earned through perseverance. Now, all of that seemed cruelly discounted by her demand. I felt a deep, searing anger mixed with sorrow, a recognition that my commitment to our future had been met with ingratitude and a dismissal of my worth. In that painful solitude, I reached for my journal, a trusted companion in moments of introspection, and began to write furiously. Every word was an outpouring of raw emotion, a cathartic release of the betrayal and the hurt that had taken root in my heart. I wrote about the sacrifices I'd made, the countless hours spent striving for success, and the way my car had become a symbol of my resilience and independence. With each sentence, I vowed that I would not allow her shallow demands to define my self-worth. Instead, I would channel my anguish into a determination to reclaim every bit of my identity, to rebuild my life on my own terms, and to prove that true success is measured not by the opinions of others, but by the strength and perseverance of one's own spirit. That night marked a turning point, a moment when I realized that if she could view my car as a mere commodity to be sold off for her convenience, then I could transform that very betrayal into the catalyst for my resurgence. I resolved that I would not only replace the car but I would upgrade it, a new vehicle that symbolized my renewed independence and rising success. I began to draft a plan, outlining every step needed to reclaim my financial autonomy and rebuild the life I had once envisioned. I spent hours researching models, comparing prices, and envisioning a car that was not just a means of transportation, but a declaration of my reclaimed identity. I would buy a car that was more than just an object. It would be a statement, a moving testament to the fact that I was no longer defined by her dismissiveness. As dawn broke the following morning, I awoke with a fierce determination. I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, painful conversations, potential conflicts, and the daunting task of rebuilding trust in my own worth. But as I looked back on the events of the previous night, I realized that the betrayal had sparked a transformation within me. I was ready to step out of the shadow of her disdain and into the light of my own potential. The decision to purchase a new car wasn't just about replacing a vehicle. It was about affirming that I was worthy of success, that my contributions mattered, and that I would no longer allow anyone to diminish my value. That morning I took the first step. I drove to the dealership, my heart pounding with a mix of apprehension and resolve, determined to choose a car that would embody the strength and freedom I had reclaimed. Every test drive, every conversation with a salesperson, was a reaffirmation of my newfound self-belief. I wasn't just buying a car, I was buying a future, one where I would never again be seen as a nobody, but as someone capable of building a life of triumph from the ashes of betrayal. And as I left the dealership with the keys to my new car clutched in my hand, I felt an exhilarating mix of victory and liberation, knowing that this was only the beginning of my journey to reclaim my identity and rewrite the narrative of my life. In the days and weeks after she left, the world I thought I knew shattered into countless fragments. I found myself submerged in a relentless tide of mixed emotions, grief for the loss of a shared future, anger at the betrayal, and a dawning resolve to reclaim my identity. Every morning, I woke with a heavy heart and a mind racing with memories of the times when I had poured every ounce of energy into helping her launch her dream career. I recalled the countless nights spent brainstorming ideas, drafting business plans, and sacrificing personal time so that she could step confidently into a role she always claimed was her destiny. And then, in one cruel twist of fate, when everything I had helped build was meant to secure our future, she simply walked away, leaving me with nothing but the echo of my own efforts. At first, I was lost in a fog of disbelief. I wandered through our once shared apartment, now filled with silence and the ghostly remnants of conversations that had once promised us a shared tomorrow. I spent long, agonizing hours rereading old emails and revisiting our financial plans, trying to understand how the person I loved could leave me when I'd given her everything. My time, my money, my unwavering support. The betrayal cut deep. It was as if every moment I had invested was nothing but a cruel illusion. Yet amid that pain, a quiet resolve began to emerge. I realized that if she was capable of walking away from our shared future, then I must no longer allow her to dictate my worth. I decided that I would rebuild my life from the ashes of our shattered dreams and, in doing so, forge a path that was entirely my own. I threw myself into work with a renewed intensity. My career had always been a source of quiet pride, a realm where my ideas and hard work spoke for themselves. Now, every project, every meeting became a battleground where I vowed to prove that my contributions were not only valuable but indispensable. I began to lead initiatives with a focus that surprised even my closest colleagues. In late-night strategy sessions and early morning board meetings, I meticulously revisited every idea I had once nurtured, determined to shine a light on the creativity and vision that had been systematically stolen. I felt a surge of adrenaline with every successful pitch. It was as if each accomplishment was a small act of defiance against the betrayal that had left me feeling invisible. I remember the intensity of one particular presentation, a comprehensive plan for a groundbreaking project that I had spearheaded. As I stood in front of a room full of executives, I poured every ounce of my energy into articulating a vision that was solely mine. The applause that followed was not just validation of my professional prowess, but a resounding affirmation that I was capable of greatness, regardless of the personal wounds I carried. Yet, professional success alone was not enough to heal the deep emotional scars. I knew that the journey toward true recovery required me to confront my inner pain head-on. I sought solace in therapy, where I spent hours unraveling the layers of betrayal and hurt that had accumulated over the years. In those sessions, I recounted every moment, the sacrifices, the nights of doubt, the crushing realization of being abandoned by someone I had supported so fiercely. My therapist, with patient compassion, helped me understand that her decision to leave was a reflection of her own internal struggles, not a measure of my worth. Slowly, I began to disentangle the deep-seated anger from the hurt, learning that forgiveness was not about excusing her actions, but about freeing myself from the chains of resentment that threatened to hold me back. Each session was a painstaking step toward rediscovering the parts of me that had been buried beneath the weight of our broken dreams. I learned to see my own value, to appreciate the strength it took to stand alone, and to understand that every tear I shed was paving the way for a resurgence of self-respect and inner peace. In the quiet solitude of the early mornings, I took long walks through the city's empty streets. The rhythmic pounding of my feet on the pavement became a meditation, a time to reflect on the lessons hidden within my pain. With each step, I visualized the future I wanted to build, a future where my worth was measured not by the approval of a partner who had turned her back, but by the quiet pride of knowing that I had fought for every inch of my success. These solitary walks transformed into a daily ritual of resilience. They provided the space I needed to set new goals, to map out a strategy for personal and professional reinvention. I began to see that the very experience of betrayal was, paradoxically, also the catalyst for growth, a necessary passage that would lead me to a future defined by my own terms. Amid these introspective moments, I also turned to creative expression as a way to channel the torrent of emotions swirling inside me. I returned to writing, a long-forgotten refuge that once allowed me to articulate my dreams and fears. Late at night, in the dim glow of my desk lamp, I filled pages with raw, unfiltered thoughts. Essays that detailed the agony of loss, the sting of betrayal, and the slow, painful emergence of a new self. Every word was a release, every sentence a step toward reclaiming the narrative of my life. I began a private blog where I shared these reflections, and the support from anonymous readers, people who had faced their own heartbreak and found strength in vulnerability, provided an unexpected source of comfort. Their messages of solidarity, the shared stories of overcoming similar betrayals, reinforced my determination to rebuild not just my career but my very identity. At work, the transformation was equally palpable. I began to take on more leadership roles, stepping up in meetings and asserting my ideas with a clarity and confidence that could no longer be ignored. I made it a point to document my contributions meticulously, ensuring that every innovative proposal, every strategic plan, was recorded as my own. I formed alliances with colleagues who had witnessed the injustice firsthand, and together we began to challenge the status quo. The conversations in the break room, once filled with hushed whispers and sympathetic glances, evolved into open discussions about fairness, merit, and the importance of giving credit where it was due. It was a slow process, but gradually I started to see a shift in the company's culture, a growing recognition of the truth that had been hidden for so long. Every nod of agreement, every word of praise from a peer, was a reaffirmation that I was reclaiming not just my professional standing but my self-respect. I also reached out to mentors who had once navigated their own treacherous paths of professional betrayal. Their wisdom and guidance were invaluable, offering perspectives that helped me understand that my journey, as painful as it was not unique. They shared stories of their own struggles and triumphs, reminding me that every setback could be transformed into a stepping stone toward a brighter future. In one particularly enlightening conversation, a mentor told me, "Sometimes the greatest victories come not from avoiding pain, but from rising above it with dignity." Those words resonated with me deeply, becoming a mantra that I repeated on my solitary walks and in the quiet moments of reflection. They served as a reminder that my worth was intrinsic, something that no one could steal or diminish, no matter how many accolades they tried to claim as their own. Every day I began to structure my time with a renewed sense of purpose. Mornings were dedicated to the physical rituals that fortified my body and mind, long runs, yoga sessions, and quiet moments of meditation that cleared the clutter of negativity. Afternoons were spent immersed in work, each project and meeting a testament to the strength I was rebuilding within myself. Evenings were reserved for creative pursuits, writing, sketching, and simply sitting with a book, absorbing stories of resilience and transformation. This disciplined routine, born of the necessity to rebuild my life from the shards of betrayal, gradually infused me with a sense of order and clarity. I realized that every day was an opportunity to redefine myself, to transform the bitter taste of abandonment into the sweet flavor of self-empowerment. The more I focused on my personal and professional growth, the more I began to see the broader picture, that her betrayal, as devastating as it was, had inadvertently set me on a path toward discovering my true potential. I started setting ambitious goals, ones that I had once dismissed as unattainable. I drafted plans for furthering my education, for expanding my business ventures, and even for exploring new creative projects that allowed me to express the complex tapestry of my experiences. Every new goal was a silent challenge to the past, a declaration that I was no longer defined by the limited vision of someone who had once rejected me. With each small victory, a successful meeting, a supportive nod from a colleague, a moment of clarity during a late-night run, I felt my self-worth solidify, like a sculpture emerging from rough marble. In the midst of this transformation, I began to reach out to others who had experienced similar betrayals. I joined support groups and attended networking events where the stories of resilience and recovery were shared openly. Listening to others recount their own journeys of overcoming heartbreak and professional injustice, I felt a kinship that bolstered my own resolve. We traded stories over coffee and long walks in the park, conversations that were raw, honest, and profoundly cathartic. Their experiences echoed my own, and every shared anecdote was a reminder that my struggle was not isolated. There was strength in community, in the understanding that we could all rise above the betrayals that had once threatened to define us. Amid these endeavors, I also recognized the need to assert my professional contributions in a way that could no longer be ignored. I began to meticulously document every project, every idea, and every achievement, creating a comprehensive record that underscored my true role in our company's successes. I shared this portfolio with trusted mentors and colleagues, who confirmed what I had known all along, that my work was not only innovative but integral to our progress. This validation was a turning point, a moment when I realized that I could not let someone else rewrite my story. With the evidence of my contributions firmly in hand, I felt a surge of empowerment that propelled me to challenge the status quo and demand the recognition I deserved. The intensity of those months was both exhausting and exhilarating. I navigated long days at the office filled with high-stakes meetings and intense strategic planning sessions, and I balanced them with evenings of quiet introspection and creative expression. I learned to channel my pain into productivity, turning every setback into a lesson and every whispered doubt into a catalyst for change. The journey was not linear, it was a turbulent mix of triumphs and setbacks, moments of overwhelming despair interwoven with flashes of brilliant clarity. Yet, through it all, I held on to the belief that I was forging a new identity, a version of myself that was unburdened by the shallow judgments of the past and empowered by my own relentless pursuit of excellence. By the time several months had passed, the transformation within me was unmistakable. I had not only reclaimed my self-worth but had also begun to build a future that was entirely my own. My work was thriving, my personal life was enriched by genuine connections, and my creative pursuits had reignited a spark that I thought had long since faded. I was no longer defined by the scars of betrayal. Instead, those scars had become symbols of my resilience, a permanent reminder that I had overcome the darkest chapters of my life to emerge stronger and more determined than ever before. That morning, as the first light of dawn spilled over the horizon and I drove my new car out of the dealership, I felt as if I were leaving the past behind me for good. The roar of the engine and the sleek, polished interior of my new ride weren't just symbols of financial recovery, they were a declaration of my rebirth. I recalled every painful moment that had led me to this point, the nights spent battling the sting of humiliation, the bitter realization that my wife had demanded I sell the very car that represented my independence, and the crushing shock of feeling disposable. Now, with the keys to a car that was entirely mine, I was taking one irrevocable step toward a future defined solely by my own worth. In the days that followed, I allowed myself to reflect on the journey with a clarity that only time, and relentless determination, could bring. Every mile I drove was a physical manifestation of the distance I had traveled from a life shadowed by betrayal. The new car was more than metal and wheels, it was a testament to the fact that I had not only survived her demands but had flourished in spite of them. As I cruised along quiet highways with the wind in my hair, I remembered the countless hours I'd spent at the dealership researching models, comparing features, and meticulously planning for a replacement that would be a bold statement of my regained independence. Every test drive, every conversation with a salesperson, had fueled a fierce resolve that I was no longer willing to be reduced to a pawn in someone else's shallow game. My professional life, too, had taken on new meaning. The betrayal that once stung so deeply had become the catalyst for my transformation. I threw myself into my work with a vigor I hadn't known before. Every challenge at the office, every project I spearheaded became an opportunity to prove to myself, and to the world, that my contributions were valuable. I recalled the times when, after she demanded that I sell my car, I had felt that crushing sense of inadequacy. But that moment of rejection spurred me to double down on my efforts. I stayed late, worked harder, and innovated in ways that eventually earned me accolades and a reputation as a true leader in my field. The new responsibilities, the promotions, and the increasing recognition from colleagues and superiors were more than just professional milestones. They were affirmations that I was capable of creating a future untainted by someone else's scorn. In quiet moments, I often revisited my journal, the pages filled with raw, unfiltered thoughts chronicling my heartbreak and my eventual determination to rise. I saw how each entry, each tear, and each sleepless night had been a stepping stone leading me to a place of strength. The journal had become a personal chronicle of transformation, a record of how I had turned betrayal into the very fuel that propelled me forward. I read back passages where I had vowed never to let anyone dictate my worth, and with each word, my resolve grew stronger. I had learned that true empowerment comes not from the validation of others, but from the unwavering belief in one's own potential. I remembered the bitter taste of that fateful night when she demanded I sell my car and how it had driven me to prove that my value was not negotiable. Now, with every passing day, I was not only reclaiming that value but redefining it on my own terms. Beyond my professional triumphs, my personal world had blossomed in unexpected ways. I reconnected with old friends and forged new bonds with those who had always believed in me, even when I doubted myself. We spent long afternoons reminiscing about better times and discussing our hopes for the future. Their unwavering support, gentle and sincere, reminded me that my worth was not determined by the shallow ambitions of one person, but by the genuine love and respect of those who truly cared. In their company, I rediscovered the joy of honest, heartfelt conversation, a joy that had been obscured by the pain of betrayal. Those friendships, built on trust and mutual encouragement, became a sanctuary where I could freely express my triumphs and fears, and they fortified my resolve to never again be diminished by someone else's narrow vision. I also embraced new opportunities for self-expression and creativity. The creative passions that had once been buried beneath the weight of everyday responsibilities reawakened within me. I returned to painting and writing, activities that had always allowed me to channel my innermost emotions into something tangible. Late at night, I would sit at my desk with a blank canvas or a fresh page in my journal, pouring out every thought, every memory, every moment of anger and hope. The act of creation became a healing ritual, a way to transform the darkness of my past into a vibrant tapestry of resilience and triumph. I started sharing some of my writings with a small circle of trusted friends, and their reactions were both heartening and inspiring. They saw in my words not just the pain of betrayal, but the beauty of a spirit that refused to be broken. In sharing my story, I discovered that vulnerability was not a weakness, but a source of immense strength that connected me with others on a deep, human level. In my journey to reclaim my identity, I also took concrete steps to secure my future. I reevaluated my financial strategies, ensuring that every decision I made was a building block toward long-term stability. I diversified my investments, restructured my savings, and even started exploring new business opportunities that resonated with my renewed sense of purpose. Each step was a deliberate act of self-empowerment, a quiet defiance against the past that had tried to diminish me. The financial progress I made wasn't just about accumulating wealth, it was about reaffirming that I was in control of my destiny. With every rising figure in my bank statements, I felt a surge of pride and reassurance that I had the power to rebuild a future that was entirely my own. Amid all these external achievements, I continued to nurture the inner strength that had been slowly rekindled in the wake of betrayal. I attended therapy regularly, not only to heal but to learn strategies for maintaining a balanced perspective. In those sessions, I confronted the lingering echoes of doubt and worked through the complex layers of grief and anger. My therapist helped me understand that while the scars of betrayal might never fully vanish, they could serve as a reminder of my resilience. I learned to see every setback as a necessary passage toward a deeper, more authentic version of myself. Each breakthrough in therapy felt like a small victory, a moment when I reclaimed a part of my soul that had been lost in the darkness of despair. As the months turned into a full year, I began to see the mosaic of my transformation come together. My professional life was now a testament to my relentless drive and innovative spirit. I was leading projects that pushed the boundaries of what I had once thought possible, and I was earning the respect of peers who had once doubted my potential. Every accolade, every new responsibility, was a brick in the fortress of my renewed identity. I had built a career that was a direct rebuttal to the dismissive words of the past, a career that spoke volumes about the power of perseverance and the importance of self-belief. At the same time, my personal life had taken on new hues. I reconnected deeply with those who had supported me through thick and thin, and together we celebrated small victories, simple dinners, spontaneous road trips, and moments of laughter that echoed with the promise of a better tomorrow. These experiences reinforced the truth that my worth was not diminished by the actions of one person, but was enriched by the bonds of genuine friendship and love. I found solace in the shared stories of others who had faced betrayal and emerged stronger, and I began to view my journey as part of a larger tapestry of human resilience. With every passing day, I set new, ambitious goals for the future. I mapped out plans for further advancing my career, expanding my business ventures, and exploring creative projects that fueled my passion. I enrolled in advanced courses, attended leadership seminars, and sought mentorship from those who had once faced similar challenges and come out victorious. Every step was calculated, a deliberate move toward a future where my success was not just a possibility, but an inevitability. I visualized a life where I would stand as a testament to the strength of the human spirit, a life where my achievements would serve as a beacon of hope for anyone who had ever been told they were not good enough. In those moments of quiet reflection, as I sat in my study surrounded by the tangible markers of my progress, a portfolio of successful projects, glowing performance reviews, and heartfelt messages from supportive friends, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. I understood that the journey from betrayal to triumph was not linear. It was a labyrinth of setbacks and breakthroughs, of tears and triumphs interwoven into the fabric of my being. Every challenge I had faced had prepared me for the future I was now building, a future defined not by the shallow judgments of the past, but by my own unwavering commitment to excellence. As I continued to forge ahead, I also made it a point to give back to others who had faced similar hardships. I began mentoring younger colleagues, sharing with them the lessons I had learned about resilience, integrity, and the importance of claiming one's own worth. In speaking openly about my journey, I discovered that my story resonated with many, a shared narrative of overcoming betrayal and rising above it with dignity. These interactions, filled with mutual understanding and encouragement, further bolstered my resolve. They reminded me that while the scars of the past would always be a part of me, they did not have to define my future. Instead, they could be transformed into symbols of strength, badges of honor earned through perseverance and the courage to stand up for oneself. In the midst of these transformative experiences, I began to see that my journey was not solely about reclaiming what had been taken from me. It was about building a legacy that would endure long after the echoes of betrayal had faded away. I started planning for the next chapter of my life with a clarity that felt almost transcendent, a future where I would continue to innovate, to lead, and to inspire. I envisioned expanding my business into new markets, launching creative ventures that reflected my passions, and investing in community projects that could help others rebuild their lives. Every plan was a declaration that my destiny was mine to shape, a future built on my own terms, free from the shadow of someone else's dismissive words. Now, as I stand on the threshold of a new dawn, each day a fresh canvas on which I paint my destiny, I am filled with an unshakable certainty that I have transcended the pain of betrayal. The scars of that dark chapter, while still visible, now serve as a testament to the strength of my journey. I have learned that true success is not measured by the accolades of others, but by the courage to rise above adversity and create a life that reflects your deepest values. Every challenge, every setback, has been transformed into a stepping stone leading me to this moment of profound empowerment. In the quiet moments before sleep, as I reflect on the progress I have made, from the heartbreaking dismissal at a family event to the triumphant resurgence in my professional and personal life, I am overcome with gratitude. I see clearly that the journey was not just about reclaiming what was stolen from me, but about rediscovering who I truly am. I have rebuilt my career, my finances, and my identity on the foundations of hard work, integrity, and the unwavering belief in my own worth. And as I prepare to step boldly into the future, I know that the legacy I am creating will be one of resilience and triumph, a testament to the power of transforming pain into purpose. I now look forward with anticipation, knowing that my destiny is not predetermined by the mistakes of the past, but by the decisions I make each day. Every late night, every small victory, every lesson learned is a reminder that I have the power to shape my future. I have turned the bitterness of betrayal into a driving force for success, and I continue to move forward with the unyielding conviction that nothing can ever diminish my light. With each courageous, determined step, I build a legacy that is uniquely my own, a future where my success stands as a beacon of hope and a reminder that, no matter how deep the wound, the human spirit can rise again, stronger and more resilient than ever before.